Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Keating, and this is KidLit Meet and Greet. I am here today with Jocelyn Rish, and she is the author of Battle of the Butts and Battle of the Brains. Hi,
Hi,
Jocelyn.
how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing great. It's so fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I'm Jocelyn Rish. I live in South Carolina. I've been writing for about 20 years now. And only recently, recently, I guess it's been what was it, 21 the first book came out? I lose track. It was all COVID time, so I lose track of when the books came
Sure.
out. But I have an adorable dog named Kinsey, and I think that's about I have a pretty boring life, actually, I think. So that's about it.
So, okay, you say writing for 20 years. Has it always been kidlit or
Yes.
multiple genres?
Yes, I got started in young adult actually. I love reading young adult books and I just read and read and read. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to write my own. And so I actually the kind of first I'm having a mind blank. The Institute for Children's Literature. That's where I applied for that and went to their course and got started there and I've written some novels. I have three or four YA novels and a middle grade novel, but as it often
Oh,
happens, I was not able to find an agent for them. So yeah, it's kind of starting to, get to that point that I was like, woo, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And and then I stumbled on this nonfiction picture book stuff and took off from there.
and that's your niche, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I know you have two books, but I know so Battle of the Butts. How did that come about? I have to know.
Yeah, this was I'm trying to think when it was like 2019, I guess I had the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was late one night, Twitter. I was supposed to be writing because I do all my writing at night, and I was supposed to be writing, of course, procrastinating as usual. And I was on Twitter scrolling, doing the doom scrolling thing, and I came across a meme. It was a picture of a manatee. So it's, a picture of a manatee, adorable manatee, and it said, "Manatees control their buoyancy by a cycle of endless farting." There, that's a thing you know now. And I was like, "What? Cannot possibly be true." And I love manatees since I was a kid. I was like, I have never, surely this is not true. So I Googled it and it is true. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. And then through my Googles, bringing in different articles, all these different articles with other weird animal butt things came up, and I was like, okay, there's enough like stuff here. I think there's a book. And so it took me a while because I was a fiction writer. I was a fiction writer. I wrote for older kids, and I'm like, but this is clearly for younger kids. And so I tried playing around with a couple of ideas of making it a fiction picture book, but just it never felt right. And then all of a sudden I was like, I think it's gonna have to be nonfiction. And so I actually ended up going to a retreat at the Highlights Foundation. It was called STEM. What was it? Oh, see, my brain is not working today. But it was a thing about STEM and writing, both fiction and nonfiction. And Jennifer Swanson and Miranda Paul were the instructors, and they were amazing. And they loved the idea. I had the idea, I brought the idea, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, you have to do this." I'd written the first couple sections, and I knew then that this was probably finally going to be it. So it was very exciting.
And then, so when you signed for that, did you get signed for a two book deal for Battle of the
No,
Brains, or did that come after?
no,
Okay.
yeah, it was after we'd finished. It hadn't published yet, but it had, it was, on its, it was, the illustrations were done, and we started talking about a second one. And so I wrote a proposal. That was always one of my bucket list items, to sell a book on proposal. And so
Yeah.
I wrote a proposal with three different more body parts. And it was actually my agent's idea to do brains. Like
Uh,
brains was not had been something I had feet and tongues and ears. I mean, I had a whole bunch. And she and her colleague had been talking about raccoons and realized how smart they were. And she's like, we were thinking that brains would be perfect. And so I included brains in the proposal, and my editor was like, oh yeah, we want brains. And so it made sense too, because you're going from the back end to the front end. So
right, right. It's just
both ends of the animal. So yeah, so it kind of made sense. And so yeah, so it was very cool that it was so funny because it's always a bucket list to sell something on proposal, but it's a very different way of writing because it's a lot more pressure, and you can't just lollygag like I like to do. So you have to get it done.
I'm not familiar with the process at all, but it sounds exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a much, you know, picture books take forever. It takes, the
Sure.
whole process takes a million years. And
Right.
so yeah, it was just very sped up because, we knew what the format was going to be. We already, it was the same illustrator. So it was
Yeah.
amazing how fast. I couldn't believe how fast it got out. So that was cool.
Oh, wow. That's like every writer's dream. Like, so do you have a favorite spread or line or just animal that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I will. Well, I was going to share one from each book. So first of all, for but it's the manatee, of course, spread
Love
because
it.
of the fact that they were the inspiration animal, and they're so cute, they're so funny, and he's all embarrassed because he's farting, and I love it so much. And so because since they was you know manatees, I already love manatees, but they will forever be my favorite animal now because they
Yeah.
made my publishing dream come true. I
Aw.
never would have thought of this without the manatee fact. And then the Battle of the Brains, I think it's a fun one. It's a fun spread, but it shows how writing is such a collaborative process because I had written, everything's written. I'd sent in several drafts to my editor, and so it was basically it was done. And
Okay.
so I sent it to. I had science advisors. I had contacted experts for each of the animals, and so the woman I had contacted to read about the rats, she said, "Oh, everything's right." She's like, "But surely the coolest smart fact about rats is that they can drive cars." And I was like, "What?"
What?
I did not see this in any of my research. So she had sent me an article about it, and so I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, "Oh, this is so amazing!" And so I contacted my editor. I'm like, "I think this is going to be better than what I have." And she's like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah." So we rewrote it, and so then David Crichton Pester, the illustrator, did this. It's
I,
so adorable,
oh,
and it's like it's correct too. Like that's what the car looks like. It
yeah.
actually is. He anthropomorphized the animals a little bit, but that's what the car they drive looks like. And it's just I was so adorable, and I love what he did with it. And
Yes.
it was just one of those things that once I heard it, I knew it was a fact that kids were gonna love, and I knew David was gonna do an amazing job because I'm like he's gonna make this spread
Yeah.
so awesome. And he
He's
did. He delivered.
fabulous.
Yeah. So that's my favorite spreads from each book.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm just like in awe of both of your books. They're beautifully written and beautifully illustrated. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite part about being a writer?
Ooh, oh man. I That one's hard because sometimes nothing's my favorite part, right? But I think my favorite part is that just when you take the ideas that are in your head and you do some stuff to it and it comes out on paper and then it goes into other people's heads. And so
Yeah.
they see the pictures you were creating and they learn the stuff you were learning. And it's magic that happens, I think.
Yes. Well,
And
that's a
so
beautiful way to say that. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the magic of transferring, what I see and learn and stuff to somebody else. So
Yes, that's fantastic. So what challenges do you face and how do you deal with them?
well, I alluded to it earlier. Procrastination has always been my downfall in everything. Such a huge procrastinator, and it's even worse in writing. It's like the getting started part's always hard. Like once I'm in the groove in writing, I love it. You can't pry me away from the keyboard, but boy,
Right.
getting to it. Whew. And so I'm very deadline driven. So that was nice to have, when I talked about Battle of the Brains and the having it on proposal because I am deadline driven. So
Mhm.
and so I try and set deadlines for myself. But I'm not good at that. It has to be external deadlines. Internal deadlines don't work. So I throughout the years I've like I always do NaNoWriMo. That's how I've written every single one of the novels I've written has been through Nano because otherwise I would never sit down and do it. Um and then I enter a lot of contests like short story contests, novel contests, all kinds of writing contests because that makes I have an external deadline I have to meet. And so then it gives me stuff that I can work with, whatever the outcome of the contest. And so I look for ways to set up external deadlines for myself.
That's smart. I like that. Yeah, I did Nano for the first time in
Mm.
November and I wrote out a novel and I have yet to go back in and attack it.
That's always the scary part. What did I write in 3
Like,
days?
I wish I had something motivating me too,
Yeah.
like a deadline or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so this question I really want to know. So you in your bio, you talk about being a filmmaker. That is incredible. So what kind
Yeah.
of films do you make and how did you get started in that?
Well, right now I have 2 short films and then a feature film. And the feature film is a horror anthology. Um, uh, my brother, it was a film minor in college. And so he's always had that in his back pocket that he'd never really done anything with. And it was, gosh, now it's been a really long time. It's been like, I guess 15 years ago. South Carolina started a grant program trying to bolster film in South Carolina. So we get Hollywood coming here for productions. And so they were doing grants for people to make a film. So you had to turn in a script and if they liked it, they gave you money to make it. And so I had a short story called Saying Goodbye. And it was inspired. I don't know, did you hear years ago about the cat who could predict deaths in a nursing home? Like he lived in a nursing home and he could predict when the patients were going to die.
Oh.
And so it was this news story and I heard about it. So I wrote a story, kind of, a drama called Saying Goodbye about, inspired by this. And the short story won a South Carolina fiction contest. And so I knew it wasn't just me that thought it was good. And my brother was like, okay, we think that this is a good, solid story. And so we turned it into a script and applied for the grant and won. And so we had, the grant money and then all these resources to help us make the film. So we made the short film. And then a couple years ago, not years ago, a couple years later, it was a similar program, but different. And so we turned another one of my short stories into a script and we won again. And so this one was called High Heels and Hoodoo. And that's kind of a supernatural, not thriller per se. And it's not really horror. It was a very kind of weird fit. It was supernatural, but it was a little bit funny. But anyway, so High Heels and Hoodoo. And then years after that, a completely different part of the South Carolina Arts. It was South Carolina Arts now, so South Carolina Film Commission did another grant program. So we applied with again and won to make our feature film. And so we only filmed the wraparound. So we have a character. She's actually the character, one of the characters from High Heels and Hoodoo. And it's the same actress who we adore, Joy Vanderbilt Cobb. She's amazing. And she plays a hoodoo root doctor. And so we made her we call it the narrator, the kind of the Rod Serling to kind of introduce everything. And so we did a contest to find films to go into the anthology, and we found 5 kind of creepy, horror, scary, unsettling movies. And then we wrote and filmed the wraparound. And it's called Grave Intentions, and it's out there on Amazon, Tubi, all kinds of places. It is some of the short films are pretty dark, so I will give that warning for people who want to see. There is animal abuse and child abuse, so I always try to give that warning for people that. So if you want to see my part, you can just watch the wraparound and skip the films.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. And so so it's been like I never in a million years thought I would do that, and
Fascinating.
It was so fun. It was fun and it was a learning experience. And I think it helped my writing too, like learning, the different ways to tell stories, and that type of thing has really helped my writing. So it's been very cool.
That's awesome. Okay, so that sounds like a lot, but do you have any other hobbies besides writing and filmmaking?
I really don't know. I don't. Does playing with your dog count as a hobby? That's basically it.
Yeah.
Or doom scrolling Twitter. That's one of my big hobbies. So that's a hobby.
Okay, so do you have any projects that you're most excited about right now? Anything secret that you're working on?
Yeah, I'm working on another nonfiction picture book. It's one of those that's kind of prose and poems. It's like the one side is a couple 2 verses and the other side then is the prose to expand on the scientific facts that I kind of talk about in the prose. So
I love it.
So it's going slow because of my procrastination problems, but
but you'll get there.
I'll get there eventually.
Okay, so any advice that you want to share with new writers?
Yeah, I think, it's super important to step outside your comfort zone and your you think, for me, I'd be a prime example. I spent 15 years trying to get a YA or middle grade novel out there, writing and querying and doing all that. And then this, out of the blue lightning bolt idea hit me. And, I could have been scared, be like, oh, I don't write for little kids, or, oh, I don't, write nonfiction. Cause that was the scary part for me, was the nonfiction part. And I'm like,
Right.
right now, that's a completely new
Yeah.
thing. And, but it was being willing to, I'm going to get it there and experiment, and I'm going to see. And, I got 2 books published now, and maybe fingers crossed, more on the way. So,
Yes.
yeah, so just be willing to experiment. And even if you don't have an idea specifically, like, if you write normally thrillers, get out there and try a comedy, or, you write sci-fi, try romance, and you never know what's going to come out of it, and just see what comes along.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Okay, so I'm going to switch to do some fun questions.
Okay.
Um, so, what is something you can't live without and why?
Oh goodness. Can I say my dog again?
Your dog. I was thinking that.
Because I adore her, and she's such a comfort. And I chat out all when I'm have a plot block, I'm like, all right, Kinsey, what do you think? So
I
yeah,
love.
and she's such a snuggle bug. So I'm gonna say my dog.
What kind of dog is she?
She's a mutt, Heinz 57. I did the DNA test for her, and I think 16 or 17 breeds came back. Her main
Oh
is
my goodness.
I know, right?
No,
She
they
got a
do
lot in there.
DNA testing for dogs.
Yeah.
I love it.
And she's pit bull, Staffordshire Terrier, and Aussie cattle dog were her 3 like biggest chunks.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
What?
she's my trash to treasure. I'm friends with someone who works in a rescue group, and her group had gotten found 6 puppies that were in a trash compactor. Someone had thrown
Oh,
a trash compactor on a construction site. And so they got the puppies, and they were hours old. Like they were
oh,
just born. And so they worked to save them. 3 of them didn't make it.
no.
But uh and so I was following along as they rescued him, and she got older and older and older, and I was like, she's so adorable. And I just kept looking at her, and I kept looking at her. I'm like, I think this is my new dog. And so I adopted her, and then so I was looking for a name, and Kinsey is I think it's Arabic for my treasure. And so she went
No.
trash to treasure. So
I love that. That in and of itself sounds like a picture book story.
I know, I know. And she's so cute. She would be the cutest little illustration.
So, if you could be any animal, what would you choose and why? Is it dog
Oh
again?
gosh. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would want to be a dog owned by me, because I have a very easy life. No, I think I'd actually go with dolphin, because I love swimming, and then to be able to just, zoom through the ocean and do all that, I think that'd be super cool.
Yes, I love dolphin like so much. We got to swim with them one time, and it was just like
Oh,
the best experience.
yeah.
And I really want to do over in Orlando, they do where you can be a dolphin trainer for the day. So that's on my bucket list. And so I'm like, okay, I've got to do that. I just
Oh
want to
my God.
be in there interacting with them, feeding them. It would be like a dream come true.
That
So
would be so amazing.
it's a lovely choice. Well, Jocelyn, this has been amazing. I just adore you. You're so delightful. I could just hang out with you all day long. So thank you so much for coming on here.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on your socials?
Yeah, I'm the normal places: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm Jocelyn Rish at all ones, JocelynRish. So just my name at all the places.
Okay, that's easy enough. Great. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.